Welcome to Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where we
dish
about
stuff. I forget.
Well, we're three veterans of the video game and animation industry, so we tend to dish about those two things. I am Jeff Gabor, a animator at Blue Sky Studios. Alongside me is
Michael Berardini, also animator at Blue Sky Studios.
And really far away in another state is
Pete Paquette, former animator at Blue Sky Studios.
And guess what?
Joined by...
Oh man, is this my cue?
That's your cue.
Lean in and speak your name.
All right, this is BJ Crawford. I'm also an animator at Blue Sky Studios.
But a fancy 2D animator.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well,
A fantastic
always.
2D animator. I'll add.
Yeah. He's pretty much the best.
Yeah, and since we have such an amazing animator here, maybe we should also mention he was this previous year nominated for an Annie for his outstanding work in Peanuts. Woohoo! So I'm sure he's really uncomfortable now. But since we have such a great animator here, we figured, why should Jeff Gabor give the animation tip of the week? Or mainly, actually, Michael said, why should you give the tip? So he said, make BJ do it. So, BJ, what's our animation tip of the week?
All right, wow. That's gotta start right in. Well, you guys have to realize how nervous I am to do this.
Don't be nervous. We're just getting drunk, having fun.
Yeah, the only people that listen to this besides us three is you, so nobody's going to listen to this episode.
I got home late from work because I was making some notes and stuff for this podcast.
He's got
And I was
lots
like,
of note cards.
I thought I'd wear a tie for this podcast, and so I got home and I got the shirt that I wanted, and then I went through the closet and I found like a tie, and it was like a navy blue tie, and I put it on and I looked in the mirror. I'm like, looks like I'm going to a fucking funeral.
That's pretty similar.
And so then I went, and then I was like, okay, and then I took that one off, and then I went into my closet. I got like a plaid tie that had like 25 different colors in it, and then I tied that one. I was like, oh, they're gonna think that I don't even take this podcast seriously. So I wound up with this third tie, which is dark, but it's kind of like...
It's a bit of a turquoise. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it.
It's got a little bit of a sheen, so it's a little fun, but it's serious.
I'm pretty sure I have that same shirt, actually. I like that shirt a lot. It's striped, probably bought at a mall somewhere.
Does it have a back button on the collar?
Yeah, it does.
Probably.
Okay, because that took me like 20 minutes to button. For some reason, it just...
I don't know why you're buttoning that.
Yeah, you guys can't even see it.
It's okay. We like to create images inside the viewer's mind.
Yeah. All right.
Yes,
Well, I'm wearing a
and
tie.
he is actually wearing a tie.
No, don't do the animation tip yet.
No, don't.
We have to acknowledge BJ brought us a beautiful bottle of bourbon whiskey that we'll be drinking. Pete, I'm going to pour it through Skype. You just open your mouth.
All right.
Let it ram your gullet. Yeah, it's good.
All right, here's... Oh, that was a good one.
Was it good?
Yeah.
All right.
This is a gift to the Few More Minutes podcast. I'm setting the bar high for future guests.
Just a few more minutes to get drunk.
Oh, got a little watering down there.
Can you hear that? Did you hear it?
Yes, I did hear it.
Just so everyone knows, we have a new audio setup. I can't fucking hear anything. I'm just flying blind over here, so...
You can hear Pete, though.
I can hear Pete.
I'll fix it
You
next
can hear
week.
me.
It'd be an easy thing just to add in. You know that, right? It's fine.
This is
fine. It's fine.
Tell us about it.
Oh, I am not drinking that much.
What?
No way.
This
I'm not gonna slur through the rest of this podcast.
This is barely
This
enough
is,
to get through the first half.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite go-tos.
I should have cheered juice.
This is Koval. This is a bourbon whiskey,
Well, that's all you're drinking right there.
and it's distilled in Chicago, where I learned how to animate.
Whoa, cool segue. What's your animation tip?
Excellent.
My animation tip.
Wait, hold on.
Sorry,
Cheers.
Pete.
Cheers.
Oh, man,
cheers.
we keep... Cheers, Pete.
Cheers, guys.
Drink your water.
That's what I got.
This is pretty cool to hang out with you guys. It's pretty awesome.
I quite like this.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It doesn't burn. It's smooth, like you said.
Exactly. You guys are gonna finish that tonight.
Yeah.
47% alcohol by volume.
Which means the animation tip of the week is...
Drunk.
Animate drunk.
My tip of the week would probably be something that either 2D or 3D animators could take advantage of. And I thought I'd talk about effective thumbnailing. And I think you can thumbnail using video reference. I think you can thumbnail using animation reference done by other people. I think you can just sort of act things out without taking any reference at all and sort of make notes with thumbnailing. I think it all sort of like thumbnailing is something you can do regardless of your process, just to kind of get into whatever piece of animation you're working on, whether it's a shot or whether it's something you're doing on your own. And for me, the way that I feel that I thumbnail most effectively is, well, one, like my sketchbook, I always have it in landscape. I always have it longer than it is tall because I like, animating in rows.
They're the coolest sketchbooks ever. BJ works with the weirdest fucking sketchbooks.
They're very long because I like looking across the page. I think that's really important. But before I actually do thumbnailing like on any piece of animation, I actually like doing a page of just pose exploration, just to look for staging options and timing. And this can happen all over the page. It doesn't have to happen in any order. It can happen across a couple pages. But I like just exploring and not worrying about what the drawings look like. And I actually like thumbnailing in pen, so there's no option to erase.
What?
Oh, I got something to add there.
Okay.
This is definitely like just inside stuff, but I wish I had the name brand. But in our supply closet is a bunch of erasable pens now.
Oh, really?
At work.
Why would anybody want that? That's the stupidest thing in the world.
You know what it is? People will go, hey, look, and they'll draw something with their pen, and then they'll flip it around and erase it, and that's the only time they'll use it. Isn't that cool?
But I use it for drawing it, erasing all my lines, and then saying, look how confidently I can draw.
The truth comes out.
Take that page of thumbnails that you're doing and develop your confidence over that page, and don't worry about what things look like. Evolve it across the page, flip it over, rip it out, tear it up, whatever. But allow yourself that time to explore and not worry too much about what your drawings look like. When I start finding poses that I feel like are staged well and they're going to start working in communicating the idea that I want to communicate, then I flip to a new page, and then I'm thinking about animating in rows. And I'll usually thumbnail. I'm not animating, but thumbnailing. I'll usually thumbnail in rows, and sometimes the thumbnails go 3 rows or 2 rows, just depending on how detailed I want the action to be broken down in. But the important thing that I do when I'm animating across that row is I usually will draw a horizontal line, regardless of whether it's by the feet or by the hips or by the head. And what that horizontal line does for me is it really articulates sort of the bouncing ball of the animation, the ups and downs. Cool. If you don't have that in your thumbnailing process, I don't know how you find the rhythm otherwise. And so, if the head drops down in anticipation, if you follow that horizontal line across, you're going to know if that head drops a half a head or a full head or whatever. So it's a nice little point of reference. And usually my drawings will get bigger over time, across the page as I thumbnail, or they'll get smaller, or they'll run off the page or whatever, but I'll always have that line as a reference point. And sometimes I put that line through the hips if the hips are the thing that have the most up and down in the action. Or if the character leaves the ground, if they're jumping or something, that line will definitely be a ground plane line, just so I get, the feeling, the sense of the rhythm of the scene from that.
Has this technique developed over time, just like doing it on a line? I don't think I've ever progressed my thumbnails to that point where I'm actually be able to see the ups and downs.
It did, because I was missing the ups and downs in the animation. I was feeling like I was doing anticipation drawings, but it wasn't dropping as much as I would want to when I finally went to actually doing the keys. And I was wondering, well, why isn't that it? Why isn't that present? Then I'd look back at my thumbnails and I wouldn't see that sort of undulation of the action. And so then I started making reference lines just to communicate to myself so I wouldn't forget about that.
Do you do little notes about like when that's happening and compared to the dialogue and all that?
Oh, I love arrows. I love directional arrows. What things are moving down, what things are moving up.
Not to mention they make your sketchbook look more like a mad genius.
Yeah.
It's like, look at me, I'm paying attention to the hips movement. I'm fucking amazing.
I will probably thumbnail the transitions less. They just need to be directional. I just kind of need to know where things are going, where they're ending up. And I need to know whether they're moving up or down or forward or back. And those reference lines really help. So that would be my overall tip. if you guys feel like you're not getting enough from your thumbnails.
I like that a lot. That's basically why I do all my thumbnailing in a sketch pass, where I just animate the whole thing in 2D in the first place. It's nowhere near as good as anything BJ's ever done, but that's how I plan as well.
Yeah. I mean, I did that a lot on Peanuts, but unfortunately, like, you guys are both better illustrators, and certainly faster illustrators than I am. So I don't do that anymore.
But I'm fast in all walks of life.
Yeah.
Sex, number 1.
Oh man. Sorry to your wife.
As she's
give out my email.
I was about to.
Berardini at BlueSkyStudios.com.
Damn it! That goes to show how small our audience is. I didn't get a single email. What we got next, bro?
Well, I was actually thinking we could transition, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of entertainment. So we can talk about our video game news first. I think there's been a lot this week. And Pete, I think there was a very special anniversary that just came up, right?
Yes. Legend of Zelda turned 30 years old on the 21st of February. It was originally put out on the Famicom Disk System on February 21st, 1986.
Yeah.
The Famicom Disk System was a floppy disk system that was an add-on to the original Famicom.
What are you reading?
And it had it. Well,
He's checking his text.
it had a. Sorry about that. It had slight differences to the one that actually got released in the U.S. A year later. The ones that we all know and love.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know there were different. What differences were there? Do you know?
Fairies.
Well, the biggest one was that if you remember in the manual, it said like the Pulse voice, those things with the ears.
Yeah.
They were sensitive to sound. That was because there was a microphone on the controller of the Famicom, and you'd scream into the microphone, and that would kill the Pulse voice.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember reading that. It's certainly the thing in the manual. I also remember doing the Extra Life thing this year, and you had. I couldn't believe you went all these years and didn't know like a bow and arrow shot will kill those guys in one shot.
No, I didn't know that.
And then
I
they
always
just
struggled
drop
with those
they drop a bunch of rupees every time. You can just clean up.
That just sucks.
Yeah,
I didn't know that all these years. No, I always just thought they were terrible enemies, and I would avoid them at all costs. But I mean,
and guess what, guys?
Seriously,
the red candle from Zelda was the inspiration for our logo.
Boom.
Yeah.
So there
Just goes to show you how influential this game was, and it's one of my all-time favorites, no doubt.
Yeah, totally.
She's a pretty little bitch.
Who? What are you talking about? Zelda?
Even though it was released a year later in the States, it's still one of the all-time greatest games ever made, in my opinion.
Definitely.
You guys got anything you want to share about Zelda, or?
No, that's it for me.
Not this Zelda, but Ocarina of Time was like the first legit game that I played by myself all the way through. I was like, I remember I went to a buddy's house for Christmas, and he had gotten his N64 and Zelda for Christmas, and I was so fucking jealous of him. And then he sucked at it, and I was so much better than him at it. But I didn't have a Nintendo yet. But then my parents got it for me. That's on mute.
Well,
yeah, I didn't want to be playing that.
Oh, okay.
I do want to apologize ahead of time. I am aware there's mouse clicks being heard.
Oh,
I don't care.
Who cares?
I don't. Yeah, exactly.
There's also a dog in this room, but she's being quiet right now.
Thank goodness.
She's our fifth guest.
Oh yeah.
Pebbles is in the room?
I guess second guest.
Oh yeah, Pebbles is here. Pebbles the dog. Check her out at facebook.com. Pebbles Stone.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Stupid.
She's also on Twitter, isn't she?
Oh yeah. I think it's the Pebble Stone on there.
At the Pebble Stone?
I think so.
Okay.
Other gaming news. Pete.
Other gaming news: the Valve's Vive is going to cost $799. That's
not
$100.
For those that don't know,
all.
that this is their virtual reality gear.
Yes, it'll
BJ.
cost $100 more. $100 more than Oculus Rift, and will ship with 2 games: Job Simulator and Fantastic Contraption.
Never heard of the
I don't-
second one. Job Simulator looks fucking stupid fun.
Stupid fun.
Stupid
I didn't
fun.
know. I didn't know that's where that sentence was going to end with. But it does come with, I think, because this is the main thing that does separate it from Morpheus, right? Not Morpheus.
It's just PlayStation VR now.
Yes. We don't know about controllers yet, right?
For PlayStation?
Maybe it's the other one.
Okay,
Anyways,
so-
the HTC Vive,
Well,
whatever.
let me tell you about controllers.
Okay. All right, fine.
All right,
Let's
so
go with it.
HTC Vive has 2 hand controllers. I think they're wireless. Maybe they're wired. Who cares? But they're hand controllers. That's coming with the system, which is why it costs that much money. Oculus is having 2 hand controllers that are coming out at a later date. They haven't been announced yet. And then for PlayStation, we don't know what yet. Probably the Move controllers, but those are stupid. But that's why it'll be cheaper and be in more marketplaces and homes and will rule the world.
Man, everybody's saying that, and I hope it's true, but I'm a little skeptic.
Ooh, video game news.
What?
I got a PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah.
No
Yeah,
shit.
I did.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Jeff Gabor.
I'm very excited. I stayed up super late playing Tower Ascension last night.
Tower Fall.
Tower Fall Ascension.
Yeah.
You played it by
Good job.
yourself?
Yeah, it's so fun. I refuse to play on any levels outside of hardcore. I'm gonna do the whole game hardcore.
That's relatively simple to do until the last few levels, and then it's really hard.
I always thought that was a multiplayer game.
It, for the most part, is.
It is, but it's got the single player stuff. It's just
Oh, okay.
It's fun. It's not like a story, it's just like fight wave after wave of enemy.
And I platinumed Mega Man Legacy. Yeah.
Nice.
What?
I beat every one. The last challenge is to beat all Mega Man 6s. Mega Man 1 through 6, all the robot bosses in a row, and beat them all within an hour without the use of any special weapons. So only the pea shooter.
How many bosses is that, Jeff?
Well, 8 times 6 is 48 minus 2 because they only had 6 for the first 2. So 46. 46 robots only using the pea shooter.
In under an hour.
You are insane, dude. Those games are so freaking hard.
Yes.
Insane.
I finally beat a level. Did I already talk
Cut
about
me.
that?
Yeah, you did.
All right, well, I'm still riding high on that, motherfuckers.
All right. Tangents all over the place. I guess that's video game news. It's my video
It's
game
not a
news.
tangent. This is our podcast.
Ooh, I bet that sounded really good in my ear.
I know, I gotta lean in more.
Yeah, that sounds
How does this sound?
You're peaking.
So, I just got a few more items.
Yeah, go ahead.
Super Russian Roulette on Kickstarter. Inspired by
That
the
is
best
cool.
kinds of bar games. By goofing around and by generations' childlike enthusiasm for that piece of gray plastic. Super Russian Roulette is a brand new party game for the NES. Where one unhinged cowboy is prepared to call you yellow, call you crazy, mourn your death, or kick up his boots for the last time. So one bullet waits in the light gun's chamber. You and up to 2 friends and the cowboy take turns passing around the pistol, spinning the chamber, and drinking to your own demise. It's on Kickstarter. It got funded. It is sitting at $24,721 out of a $20,000 goal. It's still got 27 days, so go check it out if you're interested.
I just did a
I'm so
Google
bored.
search
Here's
for it.
If we don't do something soon, I'm gonna
We're
shoot
playing it
myself.
here for BJ because he hasn't seen this thing yet.
Follow me.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, really?
But don't Google search Super Russian Roulette. for
Introducing
images.
Super
It's got
Russian
a lot of weird
Roulette.
stuff.
Whoa! Awesome!
Face off against a trash-talking cowboy in the ultimate
So basically
game
what
of
it's showing
chance.
is like this little cowboy that you have your original NES shooter and you play Russian roulette. You take turns shooting yourself in the head and you either get a bullet to the head or not.
Come on, everyone, say it with me. Buddy.
Keep spinning the barrel till only one player remains.
It's pretty cool. At the end of this, they show it like playing in these like super large like parties. It seems like, I mean, I don't know how fun it is beyond one
Fantastic
night.
Arcade last year.
Look at that guy.
Overwhelming response.
He's a funny looking
Yeah.
fella.
So there it shows them. It's very funny. Very cool.
Yeah, I think I kind of passed on it myself because I don't have anybody to play it with here. So
Yeah.
You don't want to play that with your kids?
not exactly. I don't want to have to explain the whole concept. But anyway, if you're interested, if you want to get your hands on a copy, I think it starts at $55.
Well, I guess it's a cartridge.
Yeah, it's a cartridge.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's definitely, I bet you it's going to end up being a collector's item.
No.
Yes.
Well, maybe.
Might. No, I probably won't.
It reminds me of these like sort of interactive party games. Like, have you guys heard of Keep Talking and Don't Explode?
I have heard of that. Is it fun?
It looks so fucking fun. I haven't played it because you can play it without like the Oculus, but I think it would be better in VR. So you basically have a guy with the VR on, and he's looking like in virtual reality at a little bomb with like all these little modules on it, and then the people playing with you have an instruction booklet that have to read how to defuse the bomb, and they have to tell you how to do it, and it's like little puzzles, and you have to like talk and communicate, and then if you don't, you explode.
That's fun. If you could only like hook that up to like some sort of like cheap electrical shock.
Like the little party game.
Yeah, little party electrical
Little
shock
shock
games.
thing. Yeah.
That'd make
a
it that
little
much more
9-volt
interesting.
battery or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So moving on.
Okay.
Let's see. Dice honors Satoru Iwata. Reggie Fee's anime accepted the award based off of the well, for those of you who don't know, Satoru Iwata was the head of Nintendo when he passed. He died at age 55, and his legacy is huge. One of his first games was Balloon Fight, and he worked his way up the Nintendo chain and produced like fields of games that are held dear to many people. So
Yeah, I highly recommend going and watching the Gaming Historians documentary, whatever, his episode. He does this. God bless you.
Sorry.
He has this great quick doc talking about him. It's extremely well done. I learned a lot watching it, so I would head there.
Didn't he?
I
create
didn't know he
Kirby?
made one.
Was it Kirby?
I think he was Kirby.
Well, he did work at HAL. Let's see. Yeah, Kirby's Adventure.
That's
He was
Pebbles. Listen up.
That's the stupid choking dog.
She got
Yeah,
it
to
out.
answer your question, he was a producer on Kirby. I mean, the list is huge. The list is huge. Zelda
they-
2, Zelda, Balloon Fight,
Did they
Ghosts and
announce a
Goblins,
successor?
No, I don't know.
I think they did.
Super Mario Brothers, and then all the way up until, I mean, I'm still scrolling, so it's pretty insane.
He was a real boss.
Yeah, and it's a big loss to the gaming industry. But it's inspiring other gamers like the gentlemen who are creating a game called Knights and Bikes. The game is an adventure, co-op and single-player adventure that is inspired by Earthbound, Secret of Mana, and The Goonies. So it's got a big 80s vibe in it, and it looks gorgeous. Right now, it's only got 8 days left, and it's sitting at 111,000 out of their 142.5 goal.
Oh shit!
So,
really?
Yeah, it's getting down to the wire. I hope they get it.
I just assumed it was gonna get backed like immediately.
It's always like the first 24 hours and the last 24 hours where they make most of their money, right?
Yeah. And they're like ex-Media Molecule guys, so if you've ever seen their games, they're very fucking unique looking, very cool.
Yeah, Tearaway, and what was the other one? There was another one that they worked on there.
Like Little Big Planet.
Yeah.
And Dreams coming soon exclusively to PlayStation 4.
No longer Jeff Gabor has to whine about not getting PlayStation 4
I am
exclusives.
as soon as this podcast is over, I'm downloading Axiom Verge. I'm so excited.
I think there's a sale going on.
That's good news today too. There's a
Yeah?
bunch of new games for sale on PS4.
Until Dawn, one of the games I talked about at some point, I don't know, it's like $20.
Yeah.
That's worth $20. Go play it with your girlfriend. Go play it with your boyfriend. Go play it with your mom. She might like scary stuff. Who the fuck knows? Right?
Or with your dad.
No.
And lastly, it's, and this will kind of segue into the film side of things. British animation group The Line made a game called Leo's Red Carpet Rampage, which leaves players mashing their keyboards in an effort to have Leonardo DiCaprio chase down the Oscar that's always slightly out of reach.
So good. Let's see. I wonder if we can get BJ to play it live.
What?
That'd be funny. What is it's
It's a browser based game, so you probably can find it.
Leo Red Carpet Revenge.
No, Rampage, right?
I don't know.
Red Carpet Rampage, yeah.
There it is.
It is a very funny game. It's loading.
This is not gonna
It's
work.
so dangerous to be like, let's load up a video game in the middle of recording a podcast and let's crash and lose everything.
Oh shit, there it is.
Oh, is there a volume control? Because it's so loud.
That's okay. I bet you it's got killer music. Don't fuck shit up, dude.
Oh, it's so loud. It's so loud.
It's crazy loud.
Yeah. Well, let's
Oscar's getting away.
So you get
Mike is taking the helm. Mike is mashing
I
buttons.
feel like I'm masturbating, but not getting anywhere.
Oh.
BJ, go. No.
So you get the idea, BJ. It's pretty funny. And it's all pixel graphics like that. And it goes into some pretty hilarious stuff in the middle of it. So
I feel like I broke your keyboard.
and it's Debs.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So let's segue on over. But before we do that, before we hear some more BJ goodness about maybe some music, some animation, let's get a word from our sponsor.
You better do as
Oh,
good
no.
as I did last week.
I'm not. I'm going to let you do the iTunes comment of the week, though.
Oh, okay.
Coming up next. All right, first off, our sponsor this week is We Inevitably Lost, even though Michael did such a great job.
Yeah, but pajama bottoms.
Pajamagrams.
Pajamagrams.
Yeah,
Everyone
pajamagrams.
loves a pajamagram.
Well, they don't really have a need to stick with us because Valentine's Day's over.
Right, so fuck them.
Right. But cash that check, so who cares? You should be familiar with these people that signed on this week. Frontier Airlines. Now flying to more destinations with leather seats, standard, and DirecTV on all flights, and some of the cheapest flights in the skies. Don't get how they have such low tickets? Well, it's simple. At Frontier, you can customize your flights to your heart's desire. You want extra legroom? Just pay for it. You want to watch a movie? Pay for it. Want to carry on a bag? Just pay for it. Want a snack on your 3,000-mile cross-continental flight? Just pay for it. You want a soda or some water? Or even go to the bathroom? Just pay for it. Frontier flights can be anything you want to be, or they can be anything you want them to be. Yeah. As long as you have a big enough wallet, I guess is their point. Frontier, a whole different animal. Enter discount code JAFMM Mile High Club during checkout for access to the Frontier VIP lounge on your next flight that will inevitably be delayed.
Good old Frontier Airlines.
Yes.
I once flew on a bear.
Really?
Because they have the animals.
They do. They have the different animals on. I like that. All right. So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and... we're doing a new segment here. Hopefully, I stole this from another podcast, but I still think it's valid.
Okay. I'm
So,
unprepared for this.
Basically, we want to encourage people to go onto iTunes and rate us 5 stars. Please. That helps us out a lot. And to incentivize that, if you write a little comment, we are going to pick our favorite comment each week and read it on the air. So this week's favorite or comment of the week that gave us 5 stars.
You'll love it and not know why. By a Latino lawyer. This show is brilliant. Pete, Jeff, and Michael take you on a tour de force of humor and geekdom. I particularly love Pete because he loves Nintendo and teaches his kids to play Donkey Kong whilst his friends play Minecraft. Michael, I disagree with this, by the way. Michael sounds like the son in Family Guy. What? Yet I envision him in my mind like Q from Impractical Jokers. Jeff has a thing for Meghan Trainor, but don't tell his wife. Honestly, I don't know the first thing about animation or coding animation, but I've never once skipped past their opening animator's tip segment. Latino lawyer, you're going to love this episode. Why do I love this podcast? Probably because they have such heartfelt advertising. It's a shame they keep losing corporate support. If you are the state of Connecticut, you won't enjoy it. They are funny, and it's a great listen if you have to walk your dog 3 times a day because he has more energy than Sonic the Hedgehog. Did you know this podcast was about gaming? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being E.T. on Atari 2600 and 10 being Super Metroid, this podcast is clearly Ocarina of Time.
Boom.
Damn.
Thank you, a Latino lawyer.
That is one
Again.
hell of a glowing review.
Go on to iTunes and give us 5 stars, and we may read your review next episode.
Even the bad ones. Just review us.
I don't think we're going to read those.
Yeah, why
ones.
not?
I think it would be really funny. But I'm not condoning you leave bad reviews.
All right, so let's move on out of video games and enter the world of BJ Crawford.
Oh, he can talk again.
I'm so sorry. I had nothing to say about that last segment. Pebbles had more to say about the video game segment than I did. I'm so sorry.
Don't you ever apologize, not on this podcast. You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you.
So we sent out some feelers online, and we actually got quite a few questions. So we asked BJ to go ahead and look over a lot of the questions we got and see if he's got any answers. If he doesn't have any answers, or you feel he didn't answer your particular questions because he doesn't know.
We didn't give a fuck about your stupid question.
This was part of the pre-interview. He said the questions he's not going to answer. He just didn't like the people.
So am I running my own interview, or how is this working?
You
Yeah.
wrote them down, so I'm just going to let you do it.
Well, I did. I
We're
was
the
very
worst
scared.
podcasters.
I saw the.
You come on our show and just fucking talk.
This felt like a pop quiz. Like you,
All right,
you
hold
know
on.
how
What's
you
the first question? What's the first? I'll read.
Well, I don't
it.
have an answer to it.
Oh, well then don't do that one.
I just wrote it down.
Wait, I want to ask the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, then you have to give me the notes back because I have it a little.
Actually, this is a good one. How do you approach appeal in motion? I would
Appeal.
also appeal.
Appeal. Like keen and appeal. Keen.
Interviews going downhill. I would also like to add appeal in posing, which may be upending the whole need to ask about motion, but you're talking about your thumbnails, and I want to know how you find good keys or good poses when you're thumbnailing too.
Oh man, appeal is. It has everything to do with taste, I think. But I like to think of appeal as like good design. And there are just elements of good design that I think are always sort of present no matter what kind of can you pour me a little bit of that? What kind of artwork you're doing. And I think things like contrast are things that are gonna lend to, good appeal in motion. And I think adding a lot of variety and texture to your motion is going to help as well. So I think just that overall, just making sure you're open to understanding that appeal across the board in all aspects of art.
So let's get a little bit dumbify it a bit. When you're saying contrast in your motion, can you break that down for people that may not
Yeah,
I think they'll.
Yeah, I think if you're doing a piece of animation, if it all is moving at the same speed through the entire animation, it's probably going to be boring. And if it moves too fast through the entire thing, you're not going to be able to hold, much clarity for the audience. And I think finding, if just dumbing it down, just make sure there's fast parts and make sure there's slow parts.
Everyone always relates it to music. There's like fast tempos, then they slow it down a bit to build up to the fast stuff, and you just layer that stuff in.
I think so, and I think like texture within a broader movement too. You can have broad movements, and then within those broad movements, you can have smaller things happening that are happening at different rates of motion and well. And I think that's incredibly important to just kind of keep in mind that nothing should always move the same speed.
So then, I'm just asking questions off the cuff now that aren't on your sheet. Since we're talking about appeal, do you have a good answer of like why ugly can be appealing? And I think there's some interesting characters that come to mind. Like our own character, Scrat. He's ugly as sin.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he appealing? Or like if you were to break down one of my favorite movies, Paranorman, those characters, well, I guess they're rigs, but those characters are definitely not traditionally appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't fall in any sort of Disney like box of appeal. But yet you have to say Norman is appealing.
Oh man.
So why?
Yeah.
How can you break down ugly appealing too?
When you say ugly, I think of like drawings that are deliberately off kilter in order to just get humor, just from a bad drawing that is incredibly good actually because it's funny. Mm-hmm. I feel like Michael, you do a lot of like really, really great bad drawings.
Yeah, I was arguing with some people about appeal lately because Jeff mentioned the Disney appeal stuff. I can't stand the way that stuff looks. So I'm always constantly fighting against that in like my own personal art, which, is not that great. But
is your Instagram open? Like, can people see it?
I think so.
You should because you put all that stuff on your Instagram, and I love it. I love that you post so much of that stuff.
The one example I would love to bring up, let's just talk about like the appeal like in the face. Like eyes that get further apart and smaller do tend to fit that category of what you're talking about. Yeah. If your eyes are larger and they're closer together, I think you're moving into the direction of what people would consider appealing. But I love characters that have smaller eyes and they're further apart. I think there are so many examples of that.
But I guess it's hard to put your finger on like what, Pete? Oh, Pete's just raising his hand. He's like, "That's me."
That's not what I was saying.
I have a drawing of you, Pete, that I want to make something of, but I think it's fucking hilarious.
That's totally fine. Go for it, man. I've had many good caricatures done of me.
Yeah.
I think you're beautiful, Pete.
Thank you, BJ. So are you.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Joy of working in 2D. You didn't write them as questions, so I'm phrasing it as a statement.
Oh,
is it a joy to work in 2D?
What joy do you get?
I think if I remember the phrasing of the question, it was like, are there any moments where you actually find joy in 2D? And well, yes, there are, and they're so weirdly specific. And when I'm kind of like working through a piece of animation, there are just times in that animation where it is just not, the pieces are not falling into place. You've done your planning, you've done the work of moving an object a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right or a little bit forward or a little bit back in the hopes of having what we were talking about, contrast and appeal. Mm-hmm. And you have to move those shapes in space convincingly within that appealing motion, all the textures and all that sort of stuff. And when all that sort of happens and I go back to do my tie down pass, sometimes there will be moments where I'm looking at these drawings and I'll all of a sudden like see that form actually moving towards me in space while I'm doing the drawings, and I feel my drawings getting better, and it's amazing because that's when I sort of take off and I love doing 2D animation. But everything leading up to there, I just feel like I can't draw worth shit. And then there's are points where I see the form in space, and it's not often, but when it does happen, those are like those great moments. And I don't know if there's an equivalent in 3D.
No,
I mean,
I
I'm
was
open
just
to
gonna
saying
say
that.
that feeling is I'm so envious because
Yeah,
we
well,
don't get that.
And it's also
No.
worth mentioning that it's probably very rare. BJ's like one of the best dimensional drawers I've ever met. So like when he just does a simple turnaround of a character, it's like fucking
Man,
amazing.
I know you haven't uploaded yet, but you did a pre-production shot for the llama, where this character is like he's a yogi, so he's doing some yoga poses, and he does a 360 spin.
Ice Age.
Yeah, Ice Age 5. And when you're literally doing a 360-degree camera rotation just in traditional animation, and the character is barely moving, if not at all. Like, he was barely moving, right?
That's insane, man.
It was so good.
And he's got horns and everything, and you're just like, it looks and feels like he took a camera and just spun it 360 around the camera. It's like, holy God.
I can tell you where that test grew from, and this goes back like 20 years in school where we had to do a head rotation. We had to do just that thing and there was another great question about, when you've kind of had your reality check about how difficult this medium is going to be, and inevitably everybody has that moment, and that's why I thought it was such a good question. But I did have a reality check in school because I remember, I think we had to do a head rotation, and the head rotation just meant you had to do a straight-on drawing, you had to do a profile, you had to do a 3/4, and then you had to completely go 360 around it, so you could mirror those drawings. You had to do obviously a 3/4 back and then a back, and then you could mirror that, and then you'd have to do all the in-betweens and take it around in a full circle. And I remember the character I picked. I remember I picked Prince John from Robin Hood because I thought he was an easy character. He's not an easy character. He looks easy to draw, but he's not easy to draw. And I remember very vividly, I was working on it the night before it was due, and it was not working. Things were not falling into place. Shapes were slipping around. I was getting frustrated. And there was a moment where I took those drawings off the pegs, I literally crumpled them into a ball, and I threw them in the garbage can, and I started on a new character. And I picked even worse. I picked Roger from 101 Dalmatians. And I started drawing him from head on, and I drew a profile, and I drew a 3/4, and they were the worst drawings I had ever done. And I was sort of sitting staring at these drawings and going, I can't do this. I can't get around this. And I took those drawings off the pegs, and I said, I can't do that character. So I went into the garbage can, took those drawings out of the garbage can, put them back on the pegs, and I was running my hand across all the wrinkles to straighten them out because I knew I had to turn in those drawings tomorrow as a completed assignment.
What did you get?
Everybody got an A on that project. If I had known that everybody was going to get an A on that project, I wouldn't have been worried about it so much. That stays with me to this day. So the first opportunity I had a chance to do that at Blue Sky, I said, you know what, I'm going to do a character turn 360, and I want him to perform while he's doing it.
That's
and
so cool.
that came from a very dark place, and and it was hard to do, but I was really glad. I mean, this is a metaphor for animation, I think, in general, for everybody that works in the craft, is that you have these incredibly difficult things, and when you get over those challenges, it is a great feeling. I don't know.
Are you happy with the way it turned out, the llama turnaround?
That's okay.
Of course.
Now, BJ,
That's the
let me
best
ask you a
modest guy
question.
I'll ever do.
Where did you go to school?
I was so in high school. I really wanted to go to CalArts. Every kid wants to go to CalArts.
Yeah, me too.
And Jeff, did you want to go to CalArts?
No. I
Okay.
didn't want to.
Yeah, I did too.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't good enough. My dad drove me down from Green Bay, Wisconsin, down to Milwaukee every Saturday so I could do figure drawing. And I remember doing those figure drawings, and I remember those figure drawings being so bad. And I remember showing those figure drawings to like some school open house thing where CalArts was at. And I remember the recruiter looking in my face and saying, dude, you're just, you need to give it another year. You're not good enough. And I remember having to walk away from that table thinking, wow, he's right. And it was one of those things I sort of knew, but when you're told to your face, it hurts. And I ended up applying to Sheridan College, which was as difficult, I think, to get into. And though they had an application process at that time too, where you had to do a full portfolio, you had to have life drawings, and you had a very specific I remember this too. You had to draw a room from 2 different perspectives. And I remember they also gave you a cartoon character that you had to do 4 different emotions from. And it was like happy, sad, and you had to sort of squash and stretch the character. I remember putting all that packet together, knowing full well that I was never going to be going to CalArts. And going to Sheridan College was fantastic. There was a lot of really good people there. So that's where I went. I was up in Toronto for 3 years. And actually, I arrived the fall that Mike Thurmeyer, the director of Blue Sky, left. He left in that spring, and I arrived that fall.
No kidding.
Yeah. And
Really?
yeah.
You guys were that close?
Mm-hmm.
He's directing now.
He's directing now. And what am I doing? I'm rotating llamas in space.
You're on this
No, it's
fucking
fun. I love it.
podcast.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
BJ,
Yeah, this is awesome. Keep going.
what do you do to focus while you're working?
Do I have any
You wrote
answer to
noise
that?
canceling headphones.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
End of story.
That's how I focus. Noise canceling headphones.
Next
Save your
question.
pennies and buy noise canceling headphones.
Ooh,
Next question.
I can add something to that. The new Bose headphones, the Easy Comfort 25, I think.
You're wearing them,
They're awesome.
and they're great.
The noise canceling is even stronger. I don't even hear Scott Farrell scare the shit out of me with his with his. Oh, do we have
No
to bleep
last
that now?
names.
Do we have to bleep that now?
Yeah.
I didn't mean Scott Farrell. I meant
Scotty F. Anyway.
I
What?
walked into a Bose the other day, knowing that I bought those headphones that you have.
Did you buy them?
I have them. I've had them a year, and I walked into a Bose store, and they have Bluetooth ones. They have wireless.
No.
Yes.
No.
I was
just in there last week, and they said they didn't.
I was-
lying to your face.
Wait,
I saw them.
The over the ear was one?
Yes.
Nah. Mistaken.
All right.
See, the problem with Bose,
I don't
though,
believe it. I will be pissed.
They all flake and get all over you when you've had them for too long. The headphone shit. I hate
Well,
that.
I've had these since probably like 2005. They're the S3s, I want to say. Does that sound right? But
No.
they flake. You can get new new little ear pads, and they look good as new.
You can, but for those of us that have too much gel in our hair, the part that's sitting over the top of your head gets all flaky too.
See, I was
Does
going
it?
to bring it up, but I
Yeah.
thought you guys would laugh at me. I don't wear over-the-head headphones because of my curly hair fro. It'll fuck up the hair. I don't
Right.
like the way I look with
Well, that's why I wear a hat so often.
it. Yeah.
So if I do my hair, I wear earbuds, but then Scotty F scares the crap out of me with the sneezes and the coughs.
Scotty F.
Scotty F.
BJ, how do you find the most appealing timing?
Okay. I'm so sorry for I think I know who wrote this one, and it was a great question, and I screwed it up by doing a shorthand of it. But I have an answer to this, and I'm very curious about your response to this one. So
We're not interviewing me.
finding appeal in timing. This was something that I sort of discovered learning animation, is that when I read the Richard Williams book, he broke it down perfectly. He said, at the core of all movement is like the 3 parts. It's the anticipation, it's the action, and it's the recovery from that action. And I remember when I was going through my learning of animation, and I'm still learning, but I remember this was a really rough spot where I would spend a lot more time within the actual, like let's say a character is hitting a ball with a bat. I would spend a lot more time trying to make the actual contact with the ball perfect.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would forget that there's a lot of inventiveness to be found in anticipating an action. And there's a lot of time that needs to be spent in recovering from that action in a convincing, believable, and an inventive way. So I would tend to like not spend as much time on anticipation and recovery. And I would spend a lot more time having fun doing smear drawings in between. And I realized that, you know, those are the fastest, in some respects, those are the fastest parts of the action, and you're going to be spending less frames on those. And what you need to do in your planning and in your execution, I think, is spending more time trying to find exactly what we're talking about, appeal and the proper physics of how to start an action and how to finish an action. And I think over the time, I've spent more time figuring out how to start and stop things, as opposed to having that fun time in the middle where you're doing all your fun smear drawings.
Yeah, off
it's
of that,
helped.
I just did a shot like a few months ago where someone smacks another guy's butt, and I just had this like aha moment where I was like, I don't actually have to show him contacting the butt.
Exactly.
I just have the arm like swipe past
Exactly.
it, and the butt just like jiggles and stuff, and that's where all the fun comes from anyway.
That's cool.
That is cool.
It's hard, man. But in terms of like finding the right timing for that action, I find that so hard. Like, and it gets only harder when, like rigs become slower and slower.
Yeah.
Like I feel like then I ended up taking those images into like third-party softwares and like taking out frames or playing with the whatever the frames
Frame
per
rate?
second. Yeah, the frame rate. Thank you. It's so hard.
It really
It's like
Yeah,
which
I-
one?
I feel
what's
like
the most appealing?
One of the things I tell my students all the time is that I feel like a fraud every time I start a new shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a fraud. I feel like I'm starting all over again every time.
Well, it seems like the tricks that you learn sometimes you're like, oh yeah, a head shake is 3 frames, and then the next thing you know, it doesn't work. It's like, no, I just did that stupid. It looked perfect a week ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, and then you think you have the perfect timing, and then someone looks at it and says that looks really swimmy, and you're like, God damn. Like,
And then what
Animation
happens
is
you
hard.
eventually look back at the work you've done and you say, "Oh, I've made that same problem before. Made that same mistake
Yeah.
before. I've encountered those same problems before. Why didn't I have the right solution for it?" Because like with this timing issue, if I spend more time within the action itself, it's going to slow down that action, and it's
Yeah.
going to look like crap because the timing itself is going to slow down too, and the action is going to get complicated. And this is something that I inevitably learn every time I go into trying to do more cartoony animation. I spend too much time, in the middle and not on the edges. So on the beginning and the end, I should say.
let's pick your couple of favorites, because we got a whole nother topic we haven't even touched yet.
Should we just call it quits, or what?
Fuck no.
No.
Give
yeah.
us your favorite question.
Yeah,
Put
what do you
the
got left
Question
that you
asker
think
on
of?
the spot.
I love this question, but it's going to take us way off of animation.
No, that's cool. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It'll be a good segue.
Yeah.
Something that everyone loves that you don't understand why they love it.
Ooh, that's
And
a
I
good
know,
one.
and I know who asked this, and I know they know what I'm going to say. Yeah, I was not a fan of Breaking Bad.
Whoa!
I never got
That
into it.
What the? I knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How, Pete?
I never
Breaking
saw
Bad?
Breaking Bad.
Man.
How far
I'm
did you
like one of
get?
those guys who doesn't like to watch things that people love.
You
I don't-
fucking hipster.
I don't know why. I'll wait like years before. Like it took me years to see 24.
No, I've never
I
seen
still
that.
haven't seen
Yeah.
that.
No.
It looks too formulaic, so I don't want to see it.
Well,
But
how
did-
many days has Jack Bauer saved the day? There's
Yeah,
like
that's
8
why.
seasons. Come on now.
Well, that's what ultimately
There's
ruined it
more.
for me because there were 8 seasons. I was on season 2, and I'm like, I know he's gonna live. There's no, so. Yeah, I'm kind of like that. Like I haven't seen Walking Dead. I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I'm just not into that sort of thing. I don't know why.
So, BJ, why no Breaking Bad?
How far did you get in Breaking Bad?
I think I got through the entire first season.
I mean,
I think
to
that's
me,
pretty fair.
I would say that's the weakest season, though.
That's very
I
hard
would,
for
maybe not.
But I was so hooked. The first 5 minutes, all of a sudden he's in his underwear with the cops coming. I was like, I'm watching everything.
See,
Yeah.
I loved that very much, but
You
I
didn't
think
like the
I think I have
bathtub shit?
I think I have a reason for it.
Okay.
I think I have a reason for it. I had just come off of watching 6 seasons of The Wire, and if anybody's seen that, it seems like everybody I recommend The Wire to does not watch it.
Okay.
I
I can back this up as that's my show. Equivalently, I gave it a shot. I gave it 2 full seasons, and I had to stop. I was like, I know everybody says this is God's gift to the earth, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I got into it, and it was probably episode 4 that it clicked for me. There was something about one of the things that happened in the show that I was like, oh man, these writers know what they're writing about, and they know what they're talking about, and I want to hear what they have to say. And that series is very much a documentary style, and it's also been referred to as very novelistic, where it really stretches out, but it kind of like it inevitably arrives somewhere, but it really does take its time. And a lot of those episodes do not have cliffhangers. They do not have come back, tune in next week for
Right.
the next episode. A lot of it is, it's sort of plotting, and it's incredibly. I liked it. I thought it was
I know
incredibly
why you
riveting.
liked it.
But
It didn't play down to audiences at all,
yeah,
which is why I didn't understand it. I couldn't follow it. There was too many characters introduced in The Wire, and too many plot events, so I didn't know what information to hold on to and what not to.
Yeah.
So I got lost. I was like, no, who's this guy again? Why is this? I acknowledged it was awesome. If I could just retain the information, I couldn't.
but just contrast that. Like, okay, let's say you or me, and you just finished watching 6 seasons of that, and you were like, oh yeah, man, golden age of television. What can I watch next? Okay, what's everybody talking about? What's everyone talking? Oh, Breaking Bad. Okay, and I think it had been a couple seasons in. It's like, okay, going out and getting the DVDs, putting it in. Love that opening thing with the gun and the underwear and all that sort of stuff. Hilarious. And then it got to the point where I was watching it, and it felt like a cartoony version of what I had seen in The Wire. And I have never
cartoons. What do you got against cartoons?
I had that feeling watching. I know you're right. This did take us off topic. But I had that feeling watching Firefly and then Battlestar Galactica.
Both of those suck. Sorry, everybody.
Okay. There's. Your
good. The hate mail is going to go from me to Michael.
Don't worry, I get the bulk of it.
M.
do
Berardini.
Okay, but that's my point.
Which one do you think is?
Battlestar Galactica was way better because Firefly felt like a cartoony version of
A really cheesy fucking show.
I'm trying to think. There was another show that I completely gave up on after I was watching Battlestar Galactica because it was just so good. But it was the same thing. It was like, wait, this is the good one. Like now I can't go back. Like I can't go backwards.
Well, I can't go backwards to The Wire because it's in full screen and not widescreen.
Really?
Is it really?
Yeah, but actually then they re-released it like maybe a year or two ago in widescreen, but everyone was pissed off because it was cropped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know which one to watch, the creator's vision or the widescreen? Probably neither. I'll just stick with Breaking Bad because it's better.
I will give Breaking Bad credit for doing something that I think a lot of movies don't do, is that they're funny. And they have a lot of humor in them. And I think a lot of the stuff that I watched in season 1 with Breaking Bad was very funny. Like, I laughed out loud.
Does The Wire have any humor in it?
It
That
has
seems
humor
like
that's
super
very
serious.
different. It has humor that's very different than...
It's like the humor on Inglourious Bastards. That was one of the coolest like movie whatever experiences I ever had. You're watching that first part where the SS soldier is interrogating that guy to see where these Jewish people are hiding in his house, and they're underneath the floorboard. And the attention is so high as they're drinking their little milk and everything. And then he cracks the whole environment by simply saying "Wunderbar," like wonderful, like in German. It's like "Wunderbar," and that made the whole audience belly laugh. And there's nothing to it. He just said "Wunderbar."
Well, he said it really good too, though.
He did say it was really good, but
Acting.
People were so tight that a simple word broke the entire theater with a joke, and it wasn't really even a joke. It was just, I don't know why I brought that story up.
Speaking of one-word humor, I would say like the funniest scene in The Wire, one of the funnier scenes, I think it was within the first or second season, was that two detectives were investigating a murder scene, which doesn't sound like it's going to be very funny, but hang on.
There's humor in everything.
They were making a discovery about, I can't quite remember, but basically the murder scene was saying something different to them than what was previously known about it, right? And as they were measuring the trajectory of the bullet, and as they were really studying the scene, the only word that they say in the entire, I don't know, it was 2 minutes or 3 minute scene or whatever, is fuck. And they say it over and over and over and over and over. And it is incredibly funny. And it's a way to sort of get through this horrible discovery of this, crime scene and stuff. And I think that's the humor of The Wire. You're not going to find, the humor that's in Breaking Bad, where Jesse is going to the Home Depot and he's like trying to fit into tubs to make sure they can fit a human body into tub, which I thought was very, very funny in the first season.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
Do you know what's also really good in movies? Music.
Music. It's a segue.
So, for everybody that really knows, BJ knows how much he loves music. So we entice him to come onto the podcast because he didn't want to talk about animation, even though we just got him to do it for an hour.
Film scores specifically, though.
But yeah, so he's a film score
Aficionado.
You can't call me an aficionado because I don't know. I probably could find middle C on a piano, but I have never studied music. I've never played music. I've never written music.
Yeah.
And I'm an enthusiast. I would definitely call myself an enthusiast.
Yeah, there. Well, you are the enthusiast person I know. So we're going to give our.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. It's BJ's picks.
Sure, that's good enough. So we asked
In
you to
lieu
do
of
your-
my top 6,
Yeah.
we're giving BJ a top 5. I'll round it out with a 6 because it seems incorrect to have 5.
All right, whisper in my ear. What was the first one?
Oh, what was the first one?
Yeah.
Oh well, listen. I'll tell you, but I want to.
Oh, okay.
I want to do a little bit of op-edding.
Yeah, wax. Oh, betting?
No, op-edding. I don't want.
Betting. Jesus.
I don't. I hate top 5, 10, whatever
Whoa!
lists.
Fuck
And-
you.
And if you, I hate finding the top 5 favorite anythings. I think it's
Oh, you hate
entirely
doing it
misleading.
yourself?
I hate doing it. Yeah, I hate doing it.
He
And
hates listening to it. He hates reading it. He hates everything about me.
I never got mad about top 5 emojis. I will say, you didn't leave
Top
out
6.
one. Top 6. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that poop emoji, man.
Yeah, don't count out.
But if anybody's listening that wants the top most amazing film scores that have ever been written and recorded and put against picture, I think there are tons of lists online.
Well, yeah, these are BJ's top picks.
Yeah, I would say that my criteria is a little different for this, and it may be the best or it may not be the best. But this, I mean, what I do like about this podcast is how retro it can get at times, and this is the thing is a lot of what you guys liked at an early age, and it made an impression on you, and it sort of stuck with you over the years, and that's what I like hearing about during the video game sections, even though I do not play video games.
You should, though.
But yeah, I'd say my criteria in picking 5 was in part because I wanted to make sure that it was stuff that I made an impression on me early and that sort of stuck with me and got better over the years. So I still listen to it and I find things to love about them as I go on.
Yeah.
And then there were other criteria too that we can get to. But
There goes Pebbles.
There's the dog.
but since you have 6, do you want to start?
No, I don't have. Well, I do have 6, but I'm giving 5 to you.
Oh, all right.
So I'll just round it out with one.
With 1?
With one more.
Yeah, I think Pete and I are just commenting, right? In general.
Yeah, pretty much.
You didn't have any, right?
No, but I, off the top of my head, I can think of a few.
I'm pandering to this podcast with my first pick. I have a feeling you guys are really gonna like my first pick.
Let me guess.
I don't know which one to play. Okay.
So my criteria. I have to introduce this first. I think.
This is not pandering.
Oh yeah, it is. My criteria was that I didn't. Oh, you have to stop it because I want to tell you what to listen to in the track.
Jesus.
You can't talk over this stuff. It's too important.
Well, we have to talk over, or it's copyright infringement.
Shit, are you kidding me?
I think we got 30 seconds or something, but yeah, we got to talk over it.
Okay, well, we'll get 30 seconds into it, start talking, and then stop talking.
Go, BJ.
Well, I wanted each track to have a certain sense of movement in it, so it wasn't just 2 characters talking and just a boring thing. And I didn't want it to be the main big bombastic theme of the film, but I wanted the theme to be in the track itself in some kind of variation. And then I also wanted the scores that I picked and the tracks that I picked to feel cohesive. So if you hear the track, you know that it could only belong to this film and no other film. It really has a strong identity to it.
That's good criteria.
Yeah. So my first pick is, and I'm going in order by year, and I'm
That's
starting
lame.
in 1985 with Back to the Future.
Nice.
Actually, pause it. I want to tell you something about this before. Sorry.
My appetite is wet.
I'm dripping over here.
All right. I want to give context for this score because Alan Silvestri, who wrote this music,
Okay.
his previous projects were Chips, the TV series, and like Romancing the Stone, which was
That's a good movie.
Yes, but the music, if you listen to the music on YouTube, it is so terrible. It is so cheesy, and it's all synth, and it isn't great. And I feel like the fact that he went from that to this film score in a matter of a couple of years is just incredible. And there's a great little anecdote that Bob Gale gives on the director commentary about how Spielberg had little faith in Alan Silvestri because he had heard Chips and Romancing the Stone. He's like, I don't think this guy has the chops for this film, and I think they were in a screening where Spielberg thought the film had been temped, but it was actually Alan Silvestri's music in it, and he leaned over to Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale and said, "This is the kind of music that you need in your film." It was Alan Silvestri's music, and I just love that sort of story. So the cue that I picked is not one of the big bombastic. I wanted to do the chase in the parking lot, but I thought that was just too obvious. So I wanted to do the reveal of the DeLorean, which actually has the Back to the Future theme in it, but it actually starts where the orchestra is sort of screeching and it's sort of high. And if you can imagine being in a movie theater, seeing that movie for the first time in 1985, not really knowing where this movie was going or what it was doing, the music itself has sort of this ominous tone, and the orchestra remains kind of high and screechy, and then the low brass sort of comes in and it states that Back to the Future theme in part a couple times, and then you're kind of like foreshadowed into that big bombastic theme that everybody knows from Back to the Future. So that's what I would listen to in this track. Oh, and then the orchestra actually rises at the end. All the orchestra kind of lifts up, and that's actually the moment where Doc Brown lifts up the door to the DeLorean and comes out. And that's the first time you see Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future.
I like everybody listening to the podcast going,
just play the fucking track!
I love those chimes right there. Go, Alan.
And there's the brass, really low.
Good information is knowing that Michael just saw it for the first time a year ago.
Yeah.
That it was. It is really good.
And then the whole orchestra lifts up, and then the door opens, and there's Doc Brown.
Hey,
I love it.
I'm Christopher Lloyd.
love it.
Let's do some fun
I
stuff
love it.
together.
So good.
I love it.
It's not weird that I'm an old man hanging out with a teenage boy all the time. Whatever.
Now you guys did a wonderful parody of Back to the Future in your Treehouse Studios thing, and you edited to this music. Did you?
Yeah, I use that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys find anything new or different about it? Kind of editing frame by frame to this music. Did you appreciate it more afterwards, or was it just always the same music that it always ever was?
It was kind of funny. Like, I remember the specifically lining up the audio of the Libyans sequence where the lights come on the Prius and like everything has to be timed perfectly, and I just remember when Jeff played the walrus and he said, "Oh my God, they found us," and it lined up with the music so perfectly. It was hilarious. It was so great.
Oh, that was so funny.
Nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
No, but we used to do this puppet show. We do an episode like every couple weeks to every month, and then on our second season, we had an overarching story. So a bunch of Treehouse puppets would just act out these Star Wars, and I mean it was a rough story, and then it was all like loosely parodied Back to the Future, Star Wars, and E.T. It was that was. I still say the last episode of Treehouse Studios is the most like proud thing I've ever worked on, and
it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I don't know if it's fantastic, but
I loved it.
It was so rewarding to like, you know what, we did this. Like we wrote it, we shot it, we did the music, we did the effects, and it's ours.
There was so much laughter you couldn't hear the rest of the jokes in.
Yeah, when we premiered it.
Yeah, when you premiered it, people had to go back after at their desks and watch it to get all the jokes in it, and it was that funny.
It
Did
still
you just
exists
use
online.
Yeah,
Treehouse Studios.
You have to look for Lost Boys Productions,
Oh.
all
Yeah.
one word with a Z at the end, and that's the account it's under.
So you go listen to it for Alan Silvestri's crowning achievement. No matter what he does going
Yeah,
forward
I
in his
think
entire career,
that one
he will
starts with
always be
episode
remembered.
5, yeah.
He will always be remembered for Back to the Future, no matter what he does for the rest of his life. And
Back to the Future mixed with Treehouse. We'll keep his name going. Treehouse. What's your next movie, BJ?
all right, let's go up to 1989. I think this is the best superhero
Play?
score. Not yet. Actually.
Okay.
Can I just introduce?
Do you want to hit the button?
Yeah, I do. I would
All right,
love
it's
that.
the left.
Just
That's
remember,
fantastic.
we can only listen to 30 seconds.
That's fine. You can talk over to it, but I want to
Okay.
prime the pump
All
here
right,
a little bit.
prime the pump. Pump the primer.
I would
Like
say
in
that
Jurassic Park. Velociraptor.
Well, the hand first on
Oh,
the
yeah.
shoulder. What's his name?
Hold on to your butts. That's
Mr.
how I remember.
It's not
it.
Mr. Hamasek. I was thinking, that's my thing.
Yeah.
That's my thing. It's working.
All right. Well,
Go! What,
Okay.
1989?
All right. Yeah, 1989, Batman. I'd still
Batman.
say this is probably one of the best superhero scores ever written.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
fantastic. I would say, like, not to get into debate of old and new Batmans and stuff, and I don't think that's necessary, but in listening to this music, I would say if you were just to find a word to describe the old Batman and one word to describe the new one, it would be gothic versus noir. And that's just way blanket generalization. And I would say listening to this music, it does feel more gothic. It does feel like, I don't know how you would define gothic. Would you define gothic as Guillermo del Toro, Michael?
Yeah.
I will add to bring in
lace.
a bit of conversation because I'm a little bit biased towards the original Batman. So, a little bit.
Everyone's giving me looks like I'm gonna fucking flip a lid.
But you're talking about there's a sense of contrast and timing that makes it appealing, right?
Think so? Yeah.
Well, I feel like in terms of the gothic music, there's a sense of seriousness and levity.
Absolutely. It becomes operatic.
Yeah.
And operatic in a movie, I think, that's where the levity comes from. I don't know. Is that contradictory?
I think so.
Or?
Yeah, no, and I think that's missing from Christopher Nolan's, where that is one tone. It is serious, badassness
Whoa.
all through.
Two-tone. The Batman theme is ba-na.
And that has levity. It goes up.
It goes up once.
Hey, man.
And it will sound like that at the beginning of the film, and it will sound like
If
that
you
at
take
the end of the film.
anything away from this podcast, is that BJ hates Hans Zimmer.
No, that is not true.
I have a funny story about this next pick.
All right.
The back in the 80s, I worked really hard to try and get my hands on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Sorry, I worked really hard because I wanted that Batman theme. I wanted to listen to that over and over and over again, and so I worked my ass off doing lawns and stuff, and earning very little money along the way, and finally getting the soundtrack on cassette, and it was the Prince one, and I was so crushed that I couldn't find because this was all pre-internet, you couldn't find score albums.
That Prince album didn't have any Danny Elfman on it at all, did it?
No. It was all Prince.
It was all Prince, yeah.
And I was so upset because, I guess I found it years later, but it was very hard to come by.
Yeah, that Prince stuff really marketed the movie. But yeah, this is Descent into Mystery. This is listen for sort of that churning strings, and this is when the Batmobile is going through that forest and on the way to the Batcave.
I remember that part. I was 2.
You can hear the strings that he will use in The Simpsons later that year. The Simpsons as well.
I love that. The cool part of working on Epic is the animation and the music to Epic. And then, I did say for you. I don't think I was supposed to have there. Say it. They put in the original working out the sounds on a Casio keyboard, and you hear again the element of the building. And they were saving these folding up. Oh my God! I'm hearing Danny Elfman before it's orchestrated. This
He's thinking through his process. Yeah.
Who gets to do that?
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was the coolest work experience ever. Like, I can't believe Danny Elfman is working on a movie that I'm working on. And two, I get to hear his rough composing. God.
Everybody was passing around those files.
Yeah. So awesome. But you're right. It's really great.
Yeah, listen how operatic it is.
You don't hear music like that anymore in movies.
And I think it's fair to say that if you make a movie like The Dark Knight, this music should not be the music that goes with The Dark Knight. And I think that's an important distinction to be made. Like, this music would not work
I think
Totally.
in that
filmmaking
film, and it would
has
be
changed.
terrible.
Like that actually to me felt more like it would be found in like a cheesy part of the Captain America movie or something.
Mhm.
You know?
It would be, but the way that movie was done in 1989, it fits.
Right.
It really does. And I just watched that movie again last week. There's so much to love about it, but it's cheesy as all hell. Joker pulls out a 3-foot gun and takes down the Batwing, and you're like, yeah, that's about right. God, so cool.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue into my next pick.
Perfect.
Because there has been a remake of the film that I picked next.
Ooh.
And the music was very different. The tone of the movie was very different. And the pick is from 1990, and it's Total Recall by Jerry Goldsmith.
Oh.
And did anybody see the 2012 version?
I did.
I didn't watch it.
Well, what did
No,
you
I
say?
So unmemorable.
Really?
Yeah. They don't even go to Mars.
When I heard that, I was like, I'm out.
It was like the whole
How could they not go to
plot
Mars?
It was all about like an elevator between the one side of the Earth to the other side of the Earth. They don't even go to Mars. Fuck that. Colin Farrell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it. You
suck.
got it right.
Whatever.
Phone booth.
Phone booth.
Epic.
Top
That's all
of
you
his
gotta
game.
It's so funny when the slack the heat that original film from 1990 got because of all of its violence. You look back at that, and it's so fun and cheesy.
Yeah.
And I think the music sort of reflects that. And I think, this composer, if I'm gonna be like call myself a nerd, around you guys, I think the one thing that I would say makes me a nerd is that I'm a real Jerry Goldsmith fan. Like, I love everything that he's done.
You're a fanboy.
And I don't know why this qualifies you, but I think it was a lot about his involvement in the Star Trek movies as well. He wrote the original Star Trek film, and he had gone on to do a lot of other Star Trek music writing too. Yeah, so actually what I want to just like tell you what to listen to in this. I think what makes this composer as amazing as he is that he was sort of experimenting at a time, and he had this great understanding of like classical music, and he was also experimenting heavily with electronics. And I think if you listen to this score, you'll hear it sort of start off with electronics, but if you listen underneath, you're going to hear some really nice string writing. And what he's doing is he's taking you through this 1 minute of music. He's taking you through all the themes that he's using in Total Recall. And the way he brings back themes and the way he passes them from electronics to orchestra is just mind-boggling. And I know his music for this film was very mixed, like the sound effects kind of took over, and I know after this movie he sort of swore off action films for a while, but if you can get the soundtrack album and listen to how many notes he actually wrote for this music, or for this movie, it's like mind-boggling. So very electronic, but the electronics themselves are not trying to be other parts of the orchestra. They're just the electronics that he's using.
I don't think I've actually ever listened to this, like on its own.
And you can hear the pinging. The pinging is a visualization of like, the thing that's in his head that's tracking. They're like tracking him. And the fact that he would use electronics to sort of visualize that on screen is what made him so interesting to listen to. And you can hear, the passing of between the orchestra and the electronics, and I just think that's what kind of like made him identifiable and unique, and yeah, I really like this guy.
That's really cool.
Do you like Total Recall as a movie? Because I know You're like a crazy guy who will listen to music to movies you don't even like or maybe have never even seen.
Yes, I think there's a lot of Jerry Goldsmith scores out there that you probably would never want to watch the movie to. I mean, quite honestly, when he was scoring Star Trek, John Williams had scored Star Wars. When John Williams went on to score Raiders of the Lost Ark, he went on to score King Solomon's Mines, if anybody can remember that movie. John Williams was scoring Home Alone, Jerry Goldsmith was scoring Dennis the Menace. And
Jeff's just messing with the volume.
That was a cool part. Yeah. It gets big sometimes.
But this music definitely reflects the violence and the cartooniness of the movie itself. And actually, I do like Total Recall. I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
Oh, and a side note, if you can listen to the commentary on Total Recall, it is probably the most entertaining thing that you could ever listen to from that movie. And it's Arnold
Each time
Schwarzenegger.
I punch the guy, you see me punch him?
Schwarzenegger is just having fun watching the movie, telling you what's going on screen, and it's great. It's perfect.
What's your next pick, bud?
All right, let's go up to 1993.
Whoo, doctor!
You called it. I did want to include John Williams.
Of course.
You can't. How can you not? You seriously? How can you not? I turned it all the way down though.
Pause it anyway.
I paused.
I think John Williams gets a lot of credit for his themes, and rightfully so. And I know we've had this discussion, Michael, but I think your assumption is that if somebody could take his themes and just write around them, that it would be just as good of a score, and I don't think that that's true. I think he does a lot of writing in and around his themes, and he sort of takes them and brings them in different directions and does different things with them that I don't think any other composer out there has the capability of actually doing.
Yeah, I know I get a lot of shit because I'm not a huge John Williams fan, and that is to say I fucking love the Jurassic Park theme and the Star Wars themes and everything, but can you name any other of the action scenes that he wrote or anything? His themes are the only thing that anyone remembers him by, except for BJ, who can tell you all about all the other shit in all the songs. But I don't know. I think he gets over-credited. With that said, I did like his new Star Wars theme or soundtrack. I bought it and I listened to it a lot because I'm a fucking nerd.
That's why we're going to listen to Journey to the Island from Jurassic Park, but we're not going to listen to the big bombastic theme at the beginning, and we're not going to listen to the beautiful ethereal theme that he writes for the dinosaurs that they see at the tree. We're going to listen to the bridge of that, where he takes you from the part where they're basically just. Do you guys remember this? They're basically driving from the launch pad to.
Nah.
You don't remember that?
It's the traveling music.
It's the traveling music, right?
They were driving.
Yes.
They were traveling in jeeps
from the airport helipad to the part where the dinos are eating the trees.
Yeah.
And then she's looking at the leaf paper and she's like, "Hey, well, this isn't from our period." And he's like, grabs her head and rotates it.
And I think it's important to say that any other composer would just take that section and do filler material. But there's a conversation that happens in that area, and it's basically Hammond, the island owner, and then the lawyer going back and forth about what the risks are of this weekend going badly. And what's great is in this section, you hear the sort of bouncing along of the Jeeps as they go through this rugged terrain. But if you listen closely, he's sort of passing the Jurassic Park theme off from one section of the orchestra to another. And then there's this part where the strings drop really low and you get the Jurassic Park theme kind of in a foreboding sort of ominous way. And that is the point where the lawyer says, "We're going to shut you down. And, if I'm not convinced that this is a safe park, then the investors won't be convinced." And then do you remember Hammond's reply to that? He said, "In 48 hours, I'll be accepting your apology," right? And when that happens, when that happens,
hold on. In 48 hours, I'll be accepting your apology.
Yes. And you can hear in the music where the orchestra has gone down into that place of the park's going to be shut down, and then it lifts up again when he finally has the confidence to say, "You know what, I got real live dinosaurs and you really don't know that yet." So that's what to listen to in this track.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. This is when they're opening the gate and the Jeeps are driving through.
So good. I love it. This made all of our careers. You know it did.
Yeah.
without this movie, wouldn't I even be sitting here?
This is the only song I agree with, PJ. Good job.
But if you listen, all the orchestra is not playing all at once. They're passing the theme from one instrument to another. You can hear the orchestra getting lower there. The strings are getting lower. And this is where the conversations between Boyer and Hammond start. And if you listen, the Jurassic Park music is stable. Right here.
Can we watch this?
And then Hammond says, "I'm going to be accepting your apology." This is when the orchestra lifts. So you get a sense that this guy does know what he's doing, Michael.
Yeah. Well, you mean John Williams?
Yes.
No, John Hammond knew exactly what he was doing. Whoops.
That's good stuff. Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. John Williams, hack.
Pete, do you
Great
remember?
movie.
Do you remember seeing Jurassic Park for the first time?
I was in a theater. I was really older, actually, and I think I can't. I actually don't remember watching it for the first time, to be honest with you. I remember it, but I don't remember the first time seeing it, and I don't know. It's not like it didn't leave its impression on me. It's just I don't have that good of a memory during that time, I guess. What year did this come out?
1993.
1993.
Oof. Yeah, we all got like
I
seared into our.
remember
Yeah.
it exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
I
'cause-
remember because it came out in 1993, but this is, even though it's not that long ago, like 20 some years ago.
I mean, it's pretty long.
I don't know. Is it? Maybe it
Two-thirds
is.
of
All
your
right.
life.
Well, for the little kids that are listening to this, back in 1993, movies would not just leave the theater. Like
Yeah.
you didn't have 4 weeks and it was out.
Yeah.
It
This-
stayed. It
A
stayed.
year.
Yes.
The following year in 1994, I went and saw it at a drive-in, and it played the movie as fireworks were exploding for 4th of July.
Wow.
God damn. So it's like you'd be watching the dinosaurs come in, and you'd feel the fireworks. I was like, this is the biggest like nerdgasm ever.
I probably saw that movie 12 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Had all the toys with it.
Dude, I had the big Velociraptor where you grab it by its tail and you squeeze the little dingus on it and
Yeah.
it screams. You gotta touch his like little. his
I
little-
think though, for some reason, I think the toy was labeled Deinonychus, wasn't it?
No, you got the cheap knockoff. Mine had JP on the
Yeah,
thigh.
they have the JP for the official logo. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the type of dinosaur
Yeah.
was not labeled Velociraptor?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not.
I don't remember. Anyway, Jurassic Park was cool. Good choice, BJ.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that was.
Number 4.
Was it? Do we have one more? Yes, we do. We have one more.
And actually, I don't know what year to jump to. Michael, you would know the release date of
Put me on the spot.
I want to know when the first one came out. So my choice would be
It was 2001.
2001. Okay, so 2001, The Lord of the Rings comes out.
Fellowship of the Ring.
And I would say that this music is, this is 3 parts of a massive score. I wouldn't say that there's this soundtrack, this soundtrack, and this soundtrack. And just to illustrate, I listened to an interview the other day with Howard Shore, and I just want to read off these stats to you. So basically for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there was approximately 11 hours of music. When recording the music itself, and going back and there's this book that's sitting over on that shelf over there. It's 400 pages of taking you through all the themes.
He brought it.
Yeah. And where they appear and when in this trilogy. So the thought that went into it. But the other stat is that, in recording and doing the numerous takes and stuff, there were over 7,000 takes of music. And as far as recorded music for the entire 3 movies, it's actually 1 month of continuously played music. Jeez. That's how much music was recorded for the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
That's insane.
Wait, so there's 11 hours of finished
That's
music?
in the movie, but they did
How is
so
that
many.
even possible?
They did so many alternative They did so many alt takes. They went back and rewrote. They did all this sort of stuff to.
Adjusting the table.
Yeah, sorry, we were about to have a serious accident.
That was so close. All right.
There we go. Okay.
Lord of the Rings.
1 month of music.
Continuously played music. If you open up your iTunes library, it actually tells you how much music you have in there. Continuously played. It'll tell you the number of days that you have.
I had all the soundtracks, and I would play them as I worked in college.
Yeah.
And I had that mixed with my other soundtracks and other music and whatnot, and I felt like it was always playing Lord of the Rings music. I was like, this shuffle sucks. But it was so much
because
music.
you had a...
Yeah.
I had no idea what to pick from the trilogy of movies. So I actually listened to The Two Towers recently, and there was a lot more in there that I really
I hope
liked
this
and
isn't
really enjoyed.
Shelob's theme, because that was the only one I did.
No, this is the track called Plains of Rohan. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Rohan.
Sorry.
It's an accent. An accent.
Rohan? Come on, what are we? A bunch of nerds?
And that's like a little bit more. You're
Rohan.
Yeah, you're like East Coast, so like Rohan.
Do you want to tell people what's going on in this scene?
So this is the scene when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are searching for the lost hobbits. Samwise, no, Pippin and Merry.
Boom!
Yeah, who got stolen by the Uruk-hai at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. Aragorn says to Legolas, "What do your elf eyes see?" Legolas says, "Blood has been spilled this night." And then they keep searching. And then they get surrounded by the riders of Rohan.
Now listen.
Let's
you can
listen.
you can hear the churning of the music as they're ready to surround the troop, and it's fantastic. I love it. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is odd.
Totally
Go
not
back.
the right.
Go back. This
There's
is
no
what you sent
churning.
me.
Oh, really?
This is the breaching of the deeping wall.
Well, what happens in this part of the movie?
This is when the Uruk-hai, with the bomb strapped to his body, runs like a fucking moron into the wall and just kills himself. Maybe.
I like the diving up there.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, there's so much to like about the score. There's actually a video essay that was just posted online called "How Music Elevates Story," by the Nerd Writer. They sort of take you through the Fellowship theme and how it changes and evolves through the series. So if you want a good illustration of how this music was written to tell, to kind of mirror the story of Lord of the Rings, those three movies, that's a really good video essay, sort of a primer for this. And then you can get the 400-page book that takes you through all the themes of all three movies.
But it's very similar to me.
Sure.
It's good stuff.
Lord of the Rings, I was obsessed with, probably even more so than Jurassic Park. We've hit on the two movies or series, I guess, that I fucking obsessed over for years and years and years and years.
We should tell you what we saw. How was that, a year ago already?
What? Oh yeah. We went and saw the Fellowship of the Ring live
to
orchestra.
music.
Yeah.
And that's
You
actually
guys went
pretty
and saw
awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's cool.
I mean, I'm sure you appreciated it more, BJ, because I was there, and I just started watching the movie.
There's definitely a trend towards going to these concerts where you get live performances of the film scores to the music or to the movie, and they're fantastic because they're sort of introducing people to, they're sitting in front of like a 100-piece orchestra or whatever, and that's what it takes to, bring film music.
Jeff has started playing music not at all from Lord of the Rings.
No, but Howard Shore.
Oh, okay.
He did the music to Big, right?
He did do the music to Big.
How cool is that?
This is the poignant love theme from the film.
But I feel like when you're talking about like Alan Silvestri, like, okay, he's doing these other movies, and then how do you think of him to do Back to the Future? How do you think of the music from Big all of a sudden being the huge orchestrated music
Right.
for Lord of the Rings?
I always wondered where the hell he came from, because I had never heard of Howard Shore before Lord of the Rings, and honestly, I haven't heard of him since Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
His Hobbit shit sucks.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
I definitely listen to Lord of the Rings more than Hobbit.
There is a couple themes in Lord of the Rings I do not like. Like, I do not like Shelob's theme. Like, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
But oh man, the Pippin song is awesome, and then
When he sings,
yeah,
when he has to sing to Denethor, and he's like, I'm eating tomatoes like a beast.
yes, and then
And
when
Faramir gets shot.
Faramir.
Faramir, you keep saying it like a fucking moron. Use the correct accent.
I like Faramir.
Faramir, Aragorn, Boromir, Denethor.
I didn't know you were that big of a Lord of the Rings nerd, Michael.
We're just scratching the tip of the iceberg.
I told Michael that I wanted him to introduce this track on Lord of the Rings, and he actually reenacted the entire scene for me. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what we're up against. Okay.
But what about the music as the Eagles come to rescue Sam, and
Frodo.
it's so
is
good.
his name.
Well, no, okay, sorry, not that part.
No.
The part where he says, "I will carry you." That part.
You gotta.
All right, do the whole thing. All right, do it.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
And then the music.
Yeah.
Oh, the water works me kicking on. It's so good.
You want to know one of the few shots that I can't fucking stand in that movie? Actually, there's two shots.
Oh,
wait.
All right, hold on.
Shut up.
Hold on. Can I write mine down and see if it lines up? I'm
Sure.
gonna write it down. We'll
Okay.
see if it lines up. Hold on. Out of all the three movies, your least favorite shot?
Return of the King.
All right, on Return of the King. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff's writing it down as we speak.
Do you guys want to roll a d20 or something?
Goals.
Hurry up. This is dead air.
Yeah. No. Well, you can talk, dude.
What am I? If I say the scene, well, I'll say the other scene that I know you're not thinking of.
Yeah.
You know when Samwise and Frodo are in Mordor, going to throw the ring in the fire. There's one shot when fuck, it's been a long time since I've actually watched these movies. What's Sauron's eye glances down at Frodo and he faints like a little lady.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's
Okay.
not to say that that's bad. That's not my least favorite shot. Let's.
No, you can't. You have to say it first and see if it lines up. You can't read it and then be like, "Well, I guess you're right."
Okay, so it's more of a technical shot that I dislike.
Oh no, all right, we're not lining up then.
I'll name my two other ones though. Then you can name yours. So, but the other one is another dainty Frodo shot. After he throws the ring in the fire, him and Sam jump over the lava onto a rock, and they look so fucking stupid.
Okay.
But then the other one that always bugged me the absolute most. Actually, there's a lot of shots that bugged me. The terrible green screen in that movie.
Yes, there was some bad stuff.
There's one shot when, like, Sam and Frodo are finally running into the volcano, and the camera pans up, and they're, like, sliding because their plate was not matched well to the CG camera move. And it's like, how did that pass? That looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
My God, I should have picked the Michael Giacchino score.
What?
Okay, so it's the shot where Gollum is riding on top of
Gollum?
Frodo.
You say Gollum?
Gollum.
Gollum.
Gollum. Smeagol. It's Gollum
All right,
at that time.
let's stick with Smeagol.
But it's not Smeagol at that time. He's being mean, so it's Gollum.
Smoigel.
So Gollum is riding on top of Frodo, and it's the inside the volcano as he's trying to get the finger.
Oh, and he's invisible.
Yes. So Frodo's invisible, and you have a long shot. It's pulled. The camera's pulled way back, so you see this CG character in a CG cave, rotating wildly around with no context of why he's seemingly riding out on thin air.
Yeah.
It looks cheesy as fuck. Like that. I feel like that right there. It should have been a tight shot. It should have been. You should have been like, what's the dude's name that did Gladiator? I forget the director's name.
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
I was burping.
Ridley Thomas. VS joke right there.
Wasn't there.
Nobody was there but me.
Fuck you.
Anyways, so if you have the long shot there, all right, now we're just getting super nerdy. But anyways, the long shot looks stupid. It looks really stupid.
I agree. And he's bouncing around like a fucking...
Yes, and then it took me out of the climax of the trilogy. It took me out of the movie thinking, that looks really stupid.
Can we talk about our favorite shots?
Sure.
The boat going through those two statues in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
And you hear the Temptation of the Ring theme. I think that was one of the most amazing
I
cinematic
remember
moments. I think that is just amazing.
reading about that shot specifically, that if you looked really closely in the eyeball of the statue on the top right, you could see Gollum climbing on it. And every time I watch that movie, I look for it. It's not fucking
It's like
there.
a flea circus. You totally see it, but it's not there.
Because there is like a speck that passes by. I'm like, is that Gollum? But it's not. How did he get up there? He wouldn't.
He wouldn't.
He wades in the river on a driftwood.
Pete, do you remember seeing
stated
Lord
in
of the
the
Rings
book.
for the first time?
I do actually.
He was 36.
No, I remember coming away with it feeling pretty cool, like, cause like, I guess the way it ended was something that was I was like, but I was a little disappointed, but then I realized that well, there's 2 more fucking movies coming out, so, but yeah, I out of the 3 films, The Fellowship was my favorite.
I actually agree with that.
I also agree. It goes Fellowship, Return of the King, Two Towers.
Yep. Done.
If Treebeard looked better, it would have been Two Towers might have had a better chance because Battle of the Helm Deep
the
was
way
cool.
he looked. I just didn't like the way the hobbits were comped in when they were walking.
No,
It's
I
so
always
distracting.
hated the way he looked because he's like supposed to be this majestic tree, not a fucking dead log that doesn't even have a leaf foliage at the
right.
top.
So, as somebody who's not as into Lord of the Rings as you guys, if I were to describe the Fellowship of the Ring as a movie, not as the book, not as all the history that's around it, if I just called that like a chase movie without an ending, would that be fair for somebody like a moviegoer going into it that had never known anything?
It gets there, but the reason what separates it from the other movies, because I feel like that's more the Two Towers. That's a chase that never does anything, to me at least. But the prologue and the Shire stuff within the Fellowship of the Ring, that makes that my favorite movie. Like having them sing at the dragon, what is it? I'm forgetting all.
It's the Prancing Pony, where they're supposed to meet Gandalf.
No.
No.
The dragon, the something dragon. The
If
Samwise
you just keep repeating
the
it.
bar where
In the Shire?
No, where Samwise sees his future wife.
That's in the Shire.
I know. It's the something dragon.
I don't know.
Pete's
Alright,
Dragon.
Pete's Dragon. Talk about that trailer. Come on.
No.
All right, hold on.
Do we really need to look this up? Bar in the Shire. Dragon. The Green Dragon.
The Green Dragon. Yeah! I know it was something dragon. Okay?
All right. Glad we accomplished that.
Why did I bring that up?
I don't know. BJ, is that all of your favorite music?
Yeah, I thought you were going to actually talk about your favorite stuff.
Since you only gave 5. Oh dear,
Hit
what's
the
going
escape
on?
button.
What did you do?
I'm starting to play Spotify apparently.
No.
Hit escape. Hit escape. What are you doing?
I hit
escape. Oh, nuts and
You
shit.
don't know how to
Christ.
work shit. Close it.
All right.
What
Why
are you
is
guys
it even
doing?
open?
You guys doing
Nothing.
over there fiddling with your wires?
All right.
Jeff
What
is-
song do you want to play?
This.
This one?
Yeah.
You want to hit play?
But you have to introduce it.
Okay.
I think you have to set it up.
DJ
All right.
won't let you just play it.
So this is. I have a whole list of 6, but we've gone very long, so we're just gonna play this one. This is my absolute favorite soundtrack, and unlike BJ, who appreciates music for what it is, I associate music with movies. So if I hate a movie, I'm probably not gonna listen to the music. But this movie, I absolutely love. It's one of my top favorite movies. This is my favorite composer, and this is Solaris by Cliff Martinez. It's a little bit electronic, a little bit orchestral later. If you don't know the movie, it's a sci-fi. It's a
It is not on Blu-ray.
It's not on Blu-ray. It's such a bullshit thing. I had to buy it on iTunes to get the HD version. But so basically, it's based on a book named Solaris by like this Russian guy. And then they made a Russian movie, which is long and plotting and very hard to get through. And then Steven Soderbergh remade it, and it came out with George Clooney. and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I feel like every time I bring up it as like one of my favorite sci-fi movies, nobody has seen it.
Yeah.
So, as well as being my favorite soundtrack of all time, it's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time, and everybody should give it a go.
We'll have to watch this.
Go later. Well, I don't know.
It's not that long, but it's just a bunch of like wind chimes.
Yeah.
No, this brings up a good point. Like
This is to discuss the difference.
the differences. I think it's important to
BJ and
discuss the
I's-
differences between our two tastes, and I think this is relevant. How long have we gone? Have we gone over? 2
It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Oh, we're at an hour 45.
Okay.
This will be the longest
Well,
episode.
I had read in a review just contrasting scores that were written, like in the 80s and 90s and stuff that's written now. And it was described more as like introverted, extroverted. And I feel like this is a more introverted score. There's a lot less going on. The themes don't,
This is the same artist, Cliff Martinez, from a show that actually, this is an interesting point. I've still never actually watched the show all the way through. I only listen to the soundtrack over and over again. It's The Nick, also by Steven Soderbergh. But this is okay. The reason I like Cliff Martinez is because he creates music that is vastly different than what you'd expect to hear based on the images, but also complements and enhances the images. So listening to this, I don't know, maybe you picture
This
like
is probably
fucking-
the best music that is written for like turn of the century.
Well, you just spoiled it all.
Really?
Hold on. I'm pushing the table off. It's
You are. You're
I'm
getting
trying
very
to. You
excited.
told me to get into the mic, so I'm getting into the mic. So basically, you listen to this, like you could picture like a cheesy '80s movie riding into the sunset on like Knight Rider shit.
Yeah.
This show is actually in like the 1900s about the Knickerbocker Hotel where they're learning how to do surgery on
Yeah.
people.
I think that's what makes this score so good.
That part, rewind a little bit. That's good. Right here, Clive Owen just shot up heroin into his toe. This is fucking awesome. And we're traveling with like horse and carriage right
Yes,
now.
absolutely. This is traveling music.
You gotta
actually.
bounce with the beat.
Like contrast this from the John Williams stuff of the Jeeps going through the terrain. This is very
Oh,
different
yeah.
travel music.
Let's do that.
Oh, you-
At the same time. Bump up the bass. This actually sounds fucking cool. Yeah!
I'm gonna just put this on loop on the podcast.
Alright, it's getting out of tune now. Alright.
The wheels have come off of this wagon.
Do you other two podcaster folk have any contributions to music in games?
Yeah, when you think of like film music, what do you think of? I mean, and actually, I think this is a great question. Is your favorite movie your favorite movie music? Because I have movies that I love
yes.
that I don't think the music is that great.
I have two. One of my favorite movies of all time is Blade Runner,
Yeah,
And-
son.
and I love the soundtrack to that movie. A movie that I like a lot, but I adore the soundtrack is Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah. Jeff
Well,
is
hold on.
pulling up some Blade Runner.
And I think this score is all electronic, right?
Yeah.
It's super synthy.
I have to admit, I've never seen Blade
What the fuck? Dude.
Hey
We'll
Pete.
watch it.
Hey Pete,
We'll watch it.
do you think that when you think of Blade Runner, you think of like the imagery and all that sort of stuff, but you really do think of the music too? Like, do you think the music sort of defines that movie just as much as anything else, or?
Yeah, I feel like the music definitely plays a big role in the emotions you get from the different sequences and stuff. It definitely couldn't live in a vacuum. That's if that's what you're asking. I think
Yeah,
it complements
I agree.
them both really, really well.
I'm a big fan of Blade Runner. Listening to this, it's not ringing a bell at all. If I'm correct.
This was at the end credits.
Oh, really? That's probably why.
Yeah.
I'm just like, peace out. Movie's over.
So in terms of like, hands down, my favorite thanks for the gift, BJ.
This is a good bourbon.
Chicago Koval.
My favorite Moody is American Beauty. American Beauty. I watch this movie at least twice a week at
Do you
work.
even know who did the music?
Sam Mendes.
That's the director.
Thusly.
It's Thomas Newman, who was also on my list for Road to Perdition, but we didn't listen to it. But we'll
Randy Newman?
No, Thomas Newman.
Ah.
Can you imagine Randy Newman?
Gonna fuck a teenage girl. It's awful.
All right, hold on. All right, using that same line of dialogue, you do your Randy Newman, Pete. Say,
That
I'm gonna
same-
go fucking. Yeah, say, I'm gonna go fuck a teenage girl.
I'm gonna
Play
go fuck a teenage girl in my living room.
It's so funny with the emotional music.
it. How does it get better than this?
Well, it does get better with Road to Perdition, but I think Thomas Newman has mastered like the beautiful piano stuff. And I also feel like that's why Finding Nemo has the best music in any Pixar movie,
Yeah.
because he did that as well.
Yeah.
I think this movie put Thomas Newman on the map. I think that everybody started really paying attention to him after this movie.
It's so good.
And that's just a testament to how the music sort of cuts through and it really is identifiable and memorable.
What the heck is that?
That is not the guy from the movie.
No, it's not.
All right.
Weird.
Well,
I could have faded that out better. Yeah, hold on. Play it again. I'll give you. Yeah, do it.
have you ever seen a bag float in the wind? It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Go watch Road to Perdition. All right.
This has been just a few more minutes. No, you're not ready?
I don't know. I thought, what else did we have? I'm
Well,
still drinking. Look at all this.
We do. We can talk. Actually, I got some news for the three of us part of this podcast. We can announce our next guest.
What, really?
I have sealed the deal on our next guest.
Oh.
Awesome.
Unless you guys don't want him.
We'll see.
I believe our next episode, if things hold up, Matt Simmons will be our next guest
yes,
on Just
Matt
a Few More Minutes
Simmons.
podcast. So he's developed a couple iPhone games that are available. You can, if you want to get ahead of it, you can download the game Missed Me, which he developed alongside his wife. I think he's also got a programmer as well. I don't know the guy's name, but Gwen Simmons did a lot of the artwork, and Simmons, of course, did a lot of the designing of the game. So he'll come in and talk about games. Of course, he's also the head of the technical animation crew at Blue Sky Studios and does a heck of a lot of work in terms of crowd work and just making sure the movies run efficiently in general. So he's quite the nerd.
I'm going to pitch my iOS game to him.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Hopefully he'll be like, let's do it. Let's make it. Let's monetize. Let's diversify portfolios. I'll be like, okay.
So he'll join us on the next podcast. And, of course, we want to thank BJ Crawford for joining us this podcast. A lot of awesome animation information. I feel like we barely even scratched the surface in terms of answering those questions.
That's okay.
You can come back. We're going to have you back. I feel like
We have to have
you
BJ
brought
back, yeah.
intelligence to this podcast.
Yeah, well, at least he brought a tie.
And I brought bourbon.
Yeah. So you could track the intelligence decline.
Take notes, Matt Simmons. Take notes.
Yeah, seriously, I like bourbon.
I think Matt Simmons is Skyping in.
God damn it.
FedEx.
Yeah. Oh,
And
thanks,
thank
Pebbles.
you, Pebbles, for joining us. What a stupid dog.
This has been Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where three veterans of the animation and video game industry dish about exactly that, video games and animation. So, like us on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at JAFMM, JAFMM podcast, at Twitter, whatever the thing is called. You can find me at Gabor on Twitter, and you can find Michael at
Mujaba.
MUHJUHMUH. BUH, sorry. Mujaba, not Mujaba.
Also, if you look at like my past tweets,
Pebbles.
there's probably links to my Instagram. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's Berardini, Birdini. Let's pump up my fucking Instagram followers.
Oh, yeah. That's
Well,
what
why
were
don't we
looking
put
for
it
an
on?
hour
The,
ago.
why don't we put it on the Twitter feed?
Yeah, that we could do that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want
Come on.
to do another shout out to Graham Silva for the awesome Mega Man retro artwork he gave me this week. Freaking awesome. Check out again our Twitter feed to look at that. Shout out to we had a request just to say
Gord.
Say Gord, BJ.
Gord. You're welcome.
There,
Twitter
Gord.
followers.
Gord.
Gourd?
Yeah, there, you said it.
With a question mark.
Pebbles! What? Yeah, you.
Is she okay?
That's Pete Paquette.
Oh, yes, Ed. And across the country. Yeah, she's fine. She's.
She's just dumb.
Yes, across the country is Pete Paquette. And this has been Just a Few More Minutes podcast.